Hi, guys, and welcome to the Truth Factor, where we do headlines with an attitude. We're not actually doing a stream today. I'm trying to do this on here just in case we lose power or whatever. We haven't had any rough rain today. We had some lightning and stuff last night, but there's been some pretty dark clouds roll in, and it's been kind of windy outside. Um, and there has been tornadoes touchdown in our state. So we are just trying to kind of lay low and see what develops. Because I hate being in the middle of a stream, which has happened before, and the power go poof. So we're doing it this way. Just a few headlines. I don't have it in the Wixit, but the links will be in the description in the box below for each thing that we cover here, though. So, and I'm not doing a whole thing, just a quick one, guys. So anyway, let's get right into this. We got a little bit to share here. All right, guys, we're going to start over here. Ukraine, this is from yesterday's, from Hal Turner. Ukraine declares military threat to navigation against Russian ports. Poland, Lithuania, Latvia moving troops toward Belarus, and Kaliningrad blockade to begin. For the first time in modern history, Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia are simultaneously moving military forces to the borders with Belarus and Russia. Local observers say a land blockade of Kaliningrad and Belarus is taking shape. This comes just hours after Ukraine publicly declared a military threat against navigation for the Russian port of Anapa, Novosk, Glendiska, Tupas, and Sochi and Taman. All three countries seem to clearly preparing for the total land blockade of Belarus and, by extension, the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, beginning to look like the start of World War II with what happened with the entire Danzig. Only this time, the Suwalki Gap may be the tripwire. And you can see where that is on the map here. Below, from Latvian city of Lutsk, through which allegedly the transfer of military equipment to the border with Belarus is taking place. And you can see it looks like a lot of military equipment on the streets there. On the scalable map below, readers can see the location of Lutsk, Latvia in relation to both Russia and to Belarus. Meanwhile, inside Belarus, elements from the Wagner private military company, PMC, send greetings from Poland border. Meanwhile, in Germany, the German arms manufacturer Rheinmetall this week marked the construction launch of a new factory in the western town of Wies. That's a heck of a name. That will produce fuselage sections for F-35 stealth combat aircraft. The premier of the state of the North Rhine-Westphalia, Hendricks took part in the groundbreaking ceremony at the construction site, saying the highly modern factory is to be built here that will guarantee good jobs for decades. Rheinmetall is a partner of the U.S. economy. Lockheed Martin, which makes the F-35 together with Northrop Grumman, another U.S. firm. The factory, which is estimated to cost 200 million pounds, I guess it is, $219 million, and will have an area of some 60,000 square meters, is going to be operation in 2025 unless the war breaks out and Russia smashes it with the hypersonic missiles, as seems very likely to anyone capable of actually thinking. It is up to 450 workers will produce this fuel switch parts for at least 400 of the aircraft, 35 of which are marked for use by Germany's armed forces at a cost of $8.3 billion. Those aircraft, and that's pounds again, those aircraft are being purchased as part of a 100 billion pounds package agreed by the government last year to upgrade at the country's military. This announced planning should give readers a much better view of how current hostilities are viewed by the big shots. They seem to be planning that the war that's coming will literally last years. If any of us thought that the troubles between Ukraine and Russia would remain a limited conflict, clearly that belief was incorrect. Very much military hardware is actively moving this morning, and day by day, it seems clear that an actual World War III is shaping up. Get right with God. Anyway, you should be right with God. Anyway, and then we have global conflict. Global conflict scenario: 11 Russian and Chinese ships with massive firepower and battle formation off the U.S. coast of Alaska. Russia and China launched a joint naval operation against the U.S. by sending 11 warships and massive firepower in a battle array off the U.S. coast in Alaska. Apparently, the Russians and the Chinese launched a virtual attack on American bases. According to the Americans, this is the largest naval force of the two countries that have ever approached American shores. The joint Russian-Chinese flotilla departed a Vladivostock on July 27th, patrolled near Japan, and then sailed through the La Proze Strait from the Sea of Japan and to the Sea of Okhotsk in July 20th to July 29th. 10 of the ships were destroyers, frigates, and corvettes of the Russian and Chinese navies, namely the RFS Admiral Pandlev, Admiral Tributz, the corvettes, the RFS Gromsky, and RFS Hero Adler Tistinfov, and the tanker Pisheng, while the PLAN ships were Chinese destroyers, CNS Guiyang 119 and CNS Guiguan 121, frigate CNS Zhekov 542, and Rizzo 598, oil tankers CNS Tai Hu 889. This fact forced the Americans to send 4 Arleigh Burke destroyers to mobilize the Air Force and even P-8 Poseidon patrol aircrafts. Specifically, the U.S. Navy sent USS John S. McCain, USS Benfold, and USS Chung Hoon and USS John Finn. Only on July 19th, Russian and Chinese started the joint naval exercise North Cooperation 2023. Apparently, this exercise has been extended to Alaska. Anyway, kind of interesting, don't you think? A combined Russian and Chinese naval force ventured off the coast of Alaska earlier this week in what the U.S. experts said appeared to be the largest such flotilla to approach the U.S. shores. Even 11 Russian and Chinese ships arrived near the Aleutian Islands, according to U.S. officials. It's a historic first, said Brent Sadler, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation and a retired Navy captain, given the context of the war in Ukraine and the tensions surrounding Taiwan. This move is highly provocative. A spokesperson of the U.S. Northern Command confirmed that Russia and China had conducted a combined naval patrol near Alaska, but did not specify the number of ships or their exact location. Russian warships and Chinese vessels have been spotted in the Arctic region in the past, but to see these warships from a group in a battle formation together and act simultaneously together, that's rare, said Admiral Nathan Moore, who was the Coast Guard commander for the Alaska region until last month. This is not the first time such an incident has happened. Last September, the Americans responded with a single Coast Guard ship to the presence of a cruiser accompanied by 2 more Chinese and 4 Russian ships. However, this time the U.S. showed Americans resolve by sending 4 destroyers, U.S. Air Force Ones, and even a P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft. Admiral John Aquillo, commander of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Forces, told the Aspen Security Forum last month that joint exercises and operations by China and Russia have increased. I foresee their partnership becoming stronger, and that's worrying. There's a couple of videos here, guys, and sometimes they have music, so I don't like to play them. A major joint Russian military exercise described as unprecedented in a scale has sparked alarm at the Pentagon since it took place off Alaska, prompting the U.S. to send 4 warships and air forces in a very rare move. The Wall Street Journal spoke of the largest fleet to approach American shores in recent history. As the WSJ writes, 11 Russian and Chinese ships arrived near the Aleutian Islands. The ships never entered U.S. territorial waters and have since left, being tracked by 4 U.S. destroyers and P-8 Poseidon aircraft. Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan said in an interview with Fox News that congressional leaders were briefed by the Pentagon last week about this incident, as he pointed out, clearly annoyed. Whether you live in Alaska like I do or the East Coast of the United States, when a very large naval force of two main adversaries comes so close to your shores of the United States. That is alarming. It reinforces the ideal that we have entered a new era of authoritarian aggression led by dictators in Beijing and Moscow who are increasingly aggressive. He also compared the recent patrol to an incident in the summer of 2022 when 7 Chinese and Russian ships conducted similar patrols in the area. Last summer, the Chinese and the Russian navies conducted a similar operation off the coast of Alaska, Sullivan said. Since our response was lukewarm, they strongly encouraged senior military leaders to be ready with a much stronger response should another such joint Sino-Russian naval operation occur off our shores. For that reason, I was heartened to see that this last incursion was met with U.S. Navy destroyers, which sends a strong message that the United States will not hesitate to protect and defend our vital national interest in Alaska. The United States Northern Command issued a statement confirming the naval patrol and that maritime assets were conducting operations to maintain the security of the U.S. and Canada. Air, sea, and assets under our command have conducted operation to ensure the defense of the United States and Canada. The patrol remained in international waters and was not considered a threat. So anyway, guys, we can clearly see that I would say this is, a strong show of their forces, their allegiance, their alliance that they have absolutely, come together in. And we should definitely be paying very close attention. Now, I'll tell you, obviously, we felt threatened in as much as we sent our military up there, and we probably should have sent more. I don't know what 4 ships are going to do against 11, but hey, something's better than nothing, better than waiting and just letting something just drift across your country, right? Anyway, then we also have from End Time Headlines, North Korean leaders promise to annihilate the U.S. by the end of the century. And guys, I'm not going to read this because this is kind of like the same old rhetoric coming out from Kim Jong. And, he's going to continue to threaten. I will tell you that the United States has made many enemies, and he is one of many, I'm sure. But the threats keep rolling, do they not? Then we have this here from End Time Headlines. Israeli defense strategists warn to prepare for worst case scenario if conflict breaks out in the north. While much of Israel, with the assistance of the nation's media, has been embroiled in the judicial reform debate, defense strategists are busy trying to assess the severity of the threat posed by the Iranian-backed terror group Hezbollah. Recent belligerent actions from Hezbollah on the Lebanese border, including incursions into Israel, along with incendiary rhetoric from Hezbollah leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, have been made. It's necessary to strategize what a worst case scenario would look like if conflict were to break out. According to the report in the daily Israeli Haman, military officials predict that enemies in the first few days of the war with Hezbollah would fire as many as 6,000 rockets into Israel, resulting in blackouts and hundreds of deaths. They also predict that it would be a multi-front war with Hamas and Islamic Jihad participating from Gaza Strip and terror operations in Judea and Samaria. The West Bank directed at Israel's citizens, which would necessitate the roadblocks. At the beginning of the summer, Aharon Halevi, head of the military intelligence for the Israel Defense Forces, cautioned the chances of the escalation that could spiral into war are not low. Nasrallah is close to making a mistake that could plunge the region into a big war. He is close to making this mistake from Lebanon or Syria. Experts reckon Hezbollah missiles arsenal contained between 150,000 and 250,000 rockets, and Nasrallah has boosted the Iranian proxy can reach anywhere in Israel. The military estimates that there could be 1,500 successful enemy strikes inside Israel, a much higher number and percentage aimed at a large population centers than what Israel's have seen in recent battles. with the terrorists in Gaza, where many rockets fell harmlessly and the nation's Iron Dome missiles defense system successfully neutralized more than 90% of the targeted missiles. One of the greatest concerns is targeted strikes on power stations, hampering Israel's efforts to produce electricity, creating blackouts that could last up to 72 hours. Israel's military also learned from 2006 Hezbollah war and since made dramatic advances in military intelligence and weaponry. Now, guys, I tell you, this is very important to always keep our eyes on Israel, because this is where everything biblically stems from. So I would be paying close attention, and I try to keep an eye on it as much as possible. So then we also have, guys, storms, like I said, brewing here. Tornado barrels through Indiana, battering Salem with 90-mile-an-hour winds, and we will listen in. It's just a video, guys, so you'll see the wind. "90-mile-an-hour winds," guys. Kind of crazy. Anyway, Eastern USA, to get weather today is likely risk of severe. And that their video was from Independent TV, guys. Likely river, as in the article, and it was shared on MSN. So there we go. Eastern USA to get weather today, likely risk of severe. My area of northeastern Pennsylvania is part of a large area of eastern U.S. being warned of severe weather today. Tornadoes are said to be likely. As of 8:02, I don't know where I am at today, guys, girls. As of 8:02 Eastern time, Monday morning, we are here in the northeast Pennsylvania, are soaked from rains that came through overnight. But that was just a setup for what forecasts to be on tap for later. My area of Pennsylvania is being told conditions are for later today will mimic or be worse than June 1st of 1998. An F3 tornado stormed through nearby Lake Erie, Pennsylvania, wreaking havoc. Here's what we already are being told on weather apps. And here's his warning here. Stay aware. There's likely a risk of severe weather today. Wind, tornadoes, and hail are possible, but winds are the greatest threat. Stay away and be prepared. And like I said, that it's been kind of windy here, but not as nearly windy as what we just witnessed. And I will tell you, I'm thankful for the good Lord's protection. That is for sure. And just the minimal winds here, I guess you'd say. Even though the weather radar is presently clear for over 100 miles, except the rain that moved through overnight, the forecast for today is a long duration thunderstorms. And here you can see the humidity is the big thing this morning, 87%. Back in June, a small town not too far from where he is, an F3 tornado. And here's the actual video from the few days later showing the destruction. And this is from 1998, guys. So of course, they're not there. There's no telling if there actually will be any tornadoes here or anywhere else today. But those of us in the eastern USA need to be mindful that conditions are such that tornadoes are very much possible today in places where they are not common. And guys, I will tell you that I know Virginia, a portion of it is under a tornado warning until 9 p.m. So things are definitely kind of strange today, I guess you could say. Anyway, we will continue to keep everybody, abreast as much as we can, if we can at all. But I am just wanting to get this little bit of information out there to you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. As always, thank you guys so much for supporting us. God bless you.